I got a call from my wife's number, but she'd been gone for years. The phone lit up at 11:40 on a Thursday. I was standing at the kitchen sink running lukewarm water over a plate I had already washed twice. The screen glowed against the dark granite counter, and the name that appeared made my hand go still under the faucet. Rachel. Her contact photo, the one from our trip to the coast where the wind had pulled strands of hair across her smile, filled the display. I let the water run. The phone buzzed 3 times, then stopped. I watched the notification fade. Missed call. I dried my hands on the towel hanging from the oven door and picked up the phone. The weight of it felt different. The lock screen showed the time and the missed call entry. Rachel Mobile. I had never changed her contact after the funeral. There had been no reason to. Her number had been disconnected within weeks. The carrier had sent a form letter. I sat down at the small table near the window and set the phone between my palms. The screen went dark. I pressed the button and unlocked it, pulled up recent calls. There it was, incoming, 11:40 p.m., duration 0 seconds. I scrolled up through the log. Work calls, my brother, a dentist reminder, nothing else from that number in 3 years. I tapped the contact, Rachel Mobile. The number was the same 10 digits I had called 1,000 times. I thought about calling it back. My thumb hovered over the button. Then I set the phone down and went to the bedroom. I did not sleep. I lay on top of the covers fully clothed and watched the ceiling. The house was quiet in the way it had been since she died, a specific kind of silence that felt like waiting. At some point I got up and checked the phone again. No new calls, no messages. I opened the call log a second time to be sure I had not imagined it. The entry was still there. In the morning, I made coffee and stood at the counter while it brewed. The kitchen smelled like old grounds and dish soap. I poured a cup and looked at the phone on the table. I had been married for 16 years. Rachel had been gone for 3. Those were facts I could hold. The call did not fit with those facts, and that mismatch sat in my chest like something I had swallowed wrong. I picked up the phone and dialed the number. It rang once, then cut to a recorded message. The number you have reached is not in service. Standard carrier language, flat and uninflected. I ended the call and set the phone on the table. I sat there for a long time, looking at the steam curl up from the mug. The house had been ours. 2-story colonial in a neighborhood where people mowed their lawns on Saturdays and waved from driveways. Rachel had chosen the paint colors, organized the closets, planted herbs in the bed along the back fence. After she died, I kept everything the way it had been. I did not move furniture or clear out drawers. I went to work, came home, made dinners I ate in front of the television, and went to bed. People said I was handling it well. What they meant was I was handling it quietly. I worked as a project manager for a mid-sized firm that built infrastructure, roads, and drainage systems, and the kinds of things people do not notice until they fail. I was good at reading contracts and spotting errors. I liked problems that had solutions. Grief did not have a solution, so I built a routine around it and kept the structure tight. But the call had split something open. I could not stop returning to the fact of it. I checked the call log again that afternoon. Still there. I thought about whether phones could glitch in a way that would resurrect a disconnected number. I thought about whether the carrier could have reassigned the number and someone new had dialed me by accident. Both explanations felt thin. That evening, I sat at my desk in the small room we had used as an office and opened my laptop. I logged into the account I still shared with Rachel, the one tied to our phone plan. The account page loaded slowly. I navigated to call history and filtered by her number. The log showed the same thing my phone did. 1 outgoing call attempt at 11:40 p.m. the previous night. Outgoing. That stopped me. I read the line again. Outgoing meant the call had originated from her number, not incoming to it. Someone had used her number to place a call. I sat back in the chair. The desk lamp made a yellow circle on the surface of the desk. I could hear the furnace click on downstairs. I thought about the last time I had heard Rachel's voice. It had been in the hospital the morning before she slipped into the coma. She had asked for water and I had held the cup while she drank through a straw. Her voice had been thin, abraded by tubes and medication, but it had been hers. After that, there had been machines and silence. Then, just silence. I closed the laptop and went downstairs. I made a sandwich I did not eat and threw it away. I checked the doors, turned off the lights, and went to bed. I thought I would lie awake again, but I fell asleep quickly and dreamed of nothing I could remember. The phone rang at 11:40 the next night. I was in the living room reading a book I'd picked up and put down 3 times without absorbing a page. The screen lit up. Rachel Mobile. I grabbed the phone and answered before the second ring. Silence. Not dead air, but the kind of silence that had texture. I could hear something faint beneath it, maybe breathing or the hiss of a connection. "Hello," I said. My voice came out steady. Nothing. I waited. The silence continued. I pulled the phone away and looked at the screen. The call timer was running. 14 seconds. 18. Who is this? The line went dead. I checked the log immediately. Incoming call. Duration 22 seconds. I tried calling back. Same recording. Number not in service. I set the phone on the coffee table and stared at it. My hands were shaking slightly. I pressed them flat against my thighs until they stopped. I did not tell anyone. I thought about calling my brother, but I could already hear the conversation. He would suggest technical explanations or say I was stressed. He would mean well, and it would not help. I thought about calling the carrier, but I did not know what I would ask. Someone is using my dead wife's phone number? It sounded absurd even in my head. Instead, I began keeping the phone next to me at all times. I carried it from room to room, set it on the bathroom counter when I showered, kept it on the nightstand with the ringer turned up. I did not want to miss the next call, because I knew there would be a next call. Whatever this was, it had a pattern. The third call came at 11:40 on Saturday night. I was sitting in the kitchen with a notepad and pen. I answered on the first ring. "Rachel?" I said it without thinking. There was a pause, then a sound. It might have been a breath or static or something scraping against the microphone. I waited. The silence stretched. I counted to 30 in my head. "I know someone is there," I said. Another pause, then a click, and the call ended. I wrote down the time and duration on the notepad. 38 seconds. I looked at what I had written. 3 calls, all at the same time, all ending in silence. I did not know what I was documenting, but documentation felt like action. Sunday, I drove to the library and used one of the public computers. I searched for information about phone numbers being reactivated after disconnection. The process varied by carrier, but generally numbers went into a quarantine period before being reassigned. Rachel's number should still have been in that limbo, untouchable. I searched for spoofing, the practice of faking caller ID information. It was possible but required specific software and intent. Someone would have to want to appear as Rachel's number. That thought sat with me. Why would someone do that? And why call me in silence? I thought about the people who had known Rachel. Her family, mostly her sister and parents, lived 2 states away. We had kept in touch after the funeral, but the contact had thinned. Friends from her work had sent cards, neighbors had brought casseroles. None of them had reason to do this. I thought about whether Rachel had kept secrets, whether there were parts of her life I had not known. The thought felt disloyal, but I let myself hold it. When I got home, I went through the office again. I opened the filing cabinet where we had kept records. Tax returns, insurance documents, warranty cards. I pulled out the folder labeled Rachel Personal. Inside were her birth certificate, social security card, passport, and a thin stack of papers from her last job. She had worked as a coordinator for a nonprofit that organized literacy programs. She had loved it. The pay had been modest, but the work had mattered to her. I found a contact list she had kept, names and numbers written in her slanted handwriting. Recognized a few names. I did not recognize others. I copied the numbers into my phone and started calling. Most went to voicemail. I left short messages. "I am Rachel's husband. I'm reaching out about a personal matter. Could you call me back?" 2 people answered. Both sounded confused. One had not spoken to Rachel in years. The other remembered her fondly but had no idea why I was calling. I did not explain. I thanked them and hung up. Monday I went to work and sat through meetings where I contributed nothing. My boss asked if I was feeling all right. I said I was fine. At lunch, I sat in my car and called the phone carrier. I explained that I was receiving calls from a disconnected number. The representative put me on hold, came back, and confirmed the number was inactive. She said what I was describing was not possible. I asked if someone could be spoofing the number. She said it was unlikely, but she could file a report. I gave her my information, and she said someone would follow up. No one ever did. That night, I stood in the kitchen at 11:30 and waited. The phone sat on the counter. I watched the clock on the microwave. 11:35, 11:38, 11:40. The phone rang. I picked it up and answered without speaking. Silence. I listened. This time I heard it clearly. Breathing. Soft and rhythmic, like someone trying to stay quiet. I felt my pulse in my throat. "I can hear you," I said. The breathing stopped. Then a voice, barely above a whisper. "You were not supposed to forget." The line went dead. I stood there holding the phone. The kitchen felt too bright. My hands were steady, but my legs were not. I sat down in the chair by the window. I replayed the words. "You were not supposed to forget." A woman's voice, not Rachel's. I knew Rachel's voice the way I knew my own pulse. This was different, younger maybe, or just altered by the connection. I wrote the words on the notepad. Then I wrote the question that followed. Forget what? I did not sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the lights off and thought about the last year of Rachel's life. She had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer 11 months before she died. The decline had been steep. She had fought it with surgeries and chemotherapy and a kind of stubborn grace that had amazed everyone who knew her. Toward the end, she had been in pain, but she had not complained. She had talked about the future as if she would be part of it. We had made plans for trips we would never take. I had believed her because I had needed to, but I had not forgotten. I remembered every conversation, every hospital room, every night I had sat beside her bed and watched her breathe. I remembered her last words and the way her hand had felt in mine. Whatever the voice on the phone meant, it was not that. Tuesday, I called Rachel's sister. Her name was Claire. She lived in Ohio with her husband and 2 kids. We had not spoken in months. She answered on the 3rd. Ring. "It's me," I said. "Hey," Claire said. Her voice was warm but cautious. "Is everything okay? I need to ask you something." "Okay. Did Rachel ever mention anything unusual toward the end? Anyone she was worried about or anything she wanted me to know?" There was a pause. "What do you mean unusual?" "I do not know. Just anything that did not fit." Claire sighed. She was dying. Everything did not fit. "I know, but was there anything specific?" "Why are you asking this now?" I did not answer right away. I could hear kids yelling in the background on her end. "Someone has been calling me," I said, "from Rachel's number." "That's not possible." "I know." Another pause. "What did they say?" "Nothing, mostly. Last night someone said I was not supposed to forget." Claire was quiet for a long time. "That is really disturbing." "I know." "Have you called the police?" "And tell them what? Someone is prank calling me?" "It is more than a prank." "Maybe. Do you think it is connected to Rachel?" "I do not know what to think." Claire exhaled. "She did not mention anyone. Toward the end, she was barely coherent. If she had something to tell you, she would have." "Okay. Are you all right?" "I'm fine." "You do not sound fine." "I will figure it out. Call me if you need anything." "I will." I hung up. Claire was right. Rachel had been dying. If there had been something urgent, she would have found a way to say it, unless she could not, unless whatever this was had started after she was gone. That night the call came at 11:40. I answered and said nothing. The silence filled the line. Then the voice again, clearer this time. "Check the storage unit." The line went dead. I stared at the phone. Storage unit. We had rented a small unit years ago when we downsized from a larger house. We had kept furniture and boxes of things we did not need but could not throw away. After Rachel died, I had not gone back. I had kept paying the monthly fee out of inertia. Wednesday morning, I drove to the storage facility. It was 20 minutes outside town. a flat sprawl of identical buildings painted beige. I found our unit, third row, number 117. I unlocked the padlock and rolled the door up. The space was 10 by 10, stacked with plastic bins and furniture draped in old sheets. Dust hung in the air. I stepped inside and looked around. I did not know what I was looking for. I started with the bins closest to the door, holiday decorations, kitchen items we had replaced, books. I moved methodically, opening each lid and scanning the contents. I found a box labeled Rachel Misk. Inside were notebooks, old planners, a jewelry box with cheap earrings, and a small leather journal I did not recognize. I opened the journal. The first page was dated 4 years earlier. Rachel's handwriting filled the lines. It was a diary of sorts, entries marked by date but not written daily. I flipped through the pages. Most entries were mundane, notes about work, grocery, lists, reminders. Then I reached an entry from 6 months before her diagnosis. I met someone today who knew my mother. I stopped. Rachel's mother had died when Rachel was 12. She rarely spoke about her. I read the rest of the entry. Her name is Vanessa. She was at the community center for one of our events. She said she and my mother were close before she died. She knew things about her I had never heard. I do not know why, but it felt important. She gave me her number. I think I will call her. I turned the page. The next entry was 2 weeks later. I have been meeting with Vanessa. She has been telling me about my mother. Some of it is hard to hear. I do not know if I should have started this, but I cannot stop now. She says my mother kept something hidden, something I deserve to know. The entries continued. Rachel had met with Vanessa several times. The tone shifted, became more anxious. There were references to documents Vanessa had shown her, conversations that left Rachel unsettled. The final entry was dated 1 month before Rachel's diagnosis. Vanessa says I need to decide what to do. She says it is my choice, but I feel like I'm standing at the edge of something I cannot see the bottom of. I have not told him. I do not know how. If I am wrong, it will hurt people. If I am right, it will hurt worse. I am going to wait. I need to be sure. The journal ended there. I sat on the concrete floor of the storage unit with the book open on my lap. I read the entries again. I thought about the month between that final entry and the diagnosis. Rachel had been quieter during that time. I had noticed, but I had attributed it to work stress. She had not mentioned anyone named Vanessa. I closed the journal and stood. I took the book and left the unit, locked it behind me, and drove home. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I searched for Vanessa and Rachel's mother's name. Nothing came up. I tried variations. I searched for the nonprofit Rachel had worked for, pulled up their website, and scanned the staff and volunteer lists. No Vanessa. That night the call came at 11:40. I answered. "Who is Vanessa?" I said. The voice on the other end paused. "You found it. Who are you?" I was her friend. "Rachel's?" "Yes." "What do you want?" "I want you to finish what she started." "I do not understand." "You will. Keep looking." The call ended. I sat in the dark kitchen and thought about what Rachel had written, something hidden, a choice. I thought about the way she had looked at me in those final weeks, as if she were deciding whether to speak. I had assumed it was the illness, the fog of pain and medication. Now I wondered if it had been something else. Thursday I called the nonprofit where Rachel had worked. I asked to speak with someone who had known her. They transferred me to a woman named Paula, who had been Rachel's supervisor. I explained who I was. She remembered me from the funeral. "I'm trying to locate someone Rachel knew," I said. "A woman named Vanessa." "Vanessa," Paula repeated. "I do not think I know that name. She might have been a volunteer or attended events. We have a lot of volunteers. Can you describe her?" "I cannot. I only have a first name." Paula was quiet for a moment. "I can check our records. Can you give me a few days?" "Yes, thank you." "Can I ask why you were looking for her?" "She knew Rachel's mother. I think Rachel was trying to find out something before she died." "I see. I will do what I can." Friday, Paula called back. She had found a Vanessa Marsh who had volunteered briefly 4 years earlier. She had stopped coming after a few months. Paula gave me a phone number. I thanked her and hung up. I dialed the number immediately. It rang 4 times, then went to a generic voicemail. I left a message. My name was David. I was Rachel's husband. I needed to speak with her about something important. Saturday, Vanessa called back. Her voice was measured, careful. I got your message. Thank you for calling. I found Rachel's journal. She wrote about meeting you. I wondered if you would find that. She said you told her something about her mother, something hidden. Vanessa sighed. It was not my place to tell her, but she asked, and I could not lie. What did you tell her? Her mother did not die the way she thought. I felt something cold move through me. What do you mean? The official story was an accident, a fall, but it was not an accident. Her mother took her own life. Rachel's father hid it to protect her. He told everyone it was a fall down the stairs, even Rachel. I sat down. Why would you tell her that? Because she asked, because she deserved to know, and because there was more. More. Her mother left a letter. Rachel's father never gave it to her. I found it years later when I was helping clean out his things after he died. He was my uncle. I thought Rachel should have it, so I gave it to her. What was in the letter? I do not know. She read it and did not talk about it, but it changed her. She started asking questions. She wanted to find out if her father had lied about other things. And did she? I think so, but then she got sick. And after that, everything stopped. Why are you calling me now? I am not calling you. I have not spoken to you until this moment. I felt the air go out of the room. Someone has been calling me from Rachel's number. Vanessa was silent for a beat. That is not me. Then who? I do not know. Is there anyone else who knew about this? Just Rachel's father, and he's been dead for 2 years. I thanked her and ended the call. I sat at the table and tried to fit the pieces together. Rachel had learned her mother's death was not an accident. She had received a letter. She had started digging into her father's life, looking for more lies. Then she had gotten sick and died. And now someone was using her phone number to guide me toward the same path. Saturday night, the call came at 11:40, I answered. What did Rachel find? I asked. Documents? Proof? Proof of what? That her father was not who he said he was. Where are the documents? Safe deposit box, First National Bank, downtown, box 213. She put your name on it. How do you know this? She told me. Who are you? The line went dead. I tried calling back. Number not in service. I sat in the dark and thought about the bank. I had never heard Rachel mention a safe deposit box, but if it had my name on it, I could access it. Monday morning, I went to the bank. I spoke to a manager and explained I believed my late wife had a box registered to me. He checked the system and confirmed box 213 was under both our names. He took me to the vault. I signed the card, and he let me into the small room with the boxes. I found 213, inserted the key he provided along with my own key, and opened it. Inside was a manila envelope. I carried it to the small table in the corner and opened it. Inside were photocopies of documents, birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates. I spread them on the table. Rachel's mother's death certificate listed cause of death as accidental fall. But there was another certificate beneath it, a different copy from a different county, listing cause of death as suicide. I looked at the dates. The second one was filed a week after the first. Someone had changed the record. Beneath the certificates were bank statements in Rachel's father's name. Large deposits, regular withdrawals, all from accounts I did not recognize. Dates went back 30 years. The amounts were significant. I found a photocopy of a driver's license. Same name as Rachel's father, but a different photograph, different man. I sat back. I read through everything twice. The picture that emerged was fractured but clear enough. Rachel's father had not been who he claimed to be. He had used a false identity, moved money through hidden accounts, and covered up his wife's suicide. Rachel had found this. She had documented it, and then she had gotten sick. I put the documents back in the envelope and left the bank. I drove home and sat in the driveway. I thought about what Rachel must have felt when she discovered this. Betrayal layered on grief. I thought about why she had not told me. Maybe she had not had time. Maybe she had wanted to be sure before she shared it. Or maybe she had been protecting me from the weight of it. That night the call came at 11:40. I answered. I found the documents, I said. Good. Now what? Now you decide. Decide what? Whether you let it stay buried or whether you bring it into the light. Who are you? Someone who cared about her. Tell me your name. It does not matter. It does to me. A pause. Then, softly, Emily, how did you know Rachel? We worked together. She confided in me before she got sick. She made me promise to make sure you found this if something happened to her. Why did you not just tell me? She wanted you to find it yourself. She thought it would mean more that way. And the calls? I kept her phone. I pay the bill. I wanted to make sure you did not ignore it. I closed my eyes. Why now? It has been 3 years. Because I have been afraid of what this would do, but I realized she was right. You deserved to know, and now you do. What do I do with it? That is your choice, just like it was hers. The line went dead. I set the phone down. I went to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. I stood at the sink and looked out at the dark yard. I thought about Rachel lying in the hospital bed, carrying this secret, deciding whether to share it or let it die with her. She had chosen to leave it for me. That meant something. I spent the next week reviewing the documents. I made copies. I researched the accounts, traced the names, and built a timeline. Rachel's father had taken a new identity after his wife's death. He had moved money that likely did not belong to him. He had rewritten his life and covered his tracks. Rachel had uncovered it all in the months before her diagnosis. She had planned to do something with it, but the cancer had taken that choice away. Now the choice was mine. I could take the documents to the authorities, let them unravel the fraud and the lies, or I could put them back in the box and walk away, let Rachel's father rest in whatever peace dishonest men found. I thought about what Rachel would have wanted. She had kept this hidden from me while she was alive, but she had left it where I would find it. That told me she wanted it known, but only if I chose to carry it forward. I called Emily. The number she had called from went to voicemail. I left a message asking her to call me back. She did not. I tried again the next day. No answer. I realized she had done what she promised. She had made sure I found the truth. The rest was mine. I went back to the bank and retrieved the envelope. I took it to a lawyer I had worked with on estate matters after Rachel's death. I explained the situation. He reviewed the documents and said there were avenues to pursue if I wanted to. Fraud, identity theft, falsified records. It would take time and would bring scrutiny to Rachel's family. I told him I would think about it. That night I sat in the living room and thought about Rachel. I thought about the last time I had heard her voice, the way she had said my name, the way she had looked at me as if she were memorizing my face. I thought about the journal entry where she had written about standing at the edge of something she could not see the bottom of. She had been afraid, but she had kept looking. I decided I would not take the documents to the authorities. Not because her father deserved protection, but because Rachel had chosen to leave the decision to me, and I chose to let it rest. The people who had been harmed by his actions were gone. Pursuing it would not bring them back. It would only pull Rachel's memory into a story that was not hers to carry. I put the envelope back in the safe deposit box and closed it. I thanked the bank manager and left. I drove home and made dinner. I ate at the table by the window and watched the street go quiet as the light faded. The phone sat next to my plate. It did not ring. I have not received another call from Rachel's number. Emily, if that was her real name, has not reached out again. I think about her sometimes, about the decision she made to carry out Rachel's wish. It must have taken courage to reach across 3 years and disturb the silence. I'm grateful she did. I kept the journal. I read it sometimes, late at night when the house feels too big. I read Rachel's words and remember the way she thought, the care she put into small things, the way she believed people deserved the truth even when it was hard. I did not forget her. I never could. But I understand now what the voice on the phone meant. I was not supposed to forget what she stood for, the way she faced things that scared her, the way she left me a choice instead of a command. The house is still quiet. I still wash dishes twice and leave lights on in empty rooms. But the silence feels different now. It feels less like waiting and more like rest. Rachel's gone, but the shape of her remains. In the journal, in the decisions she made, in the way I move through the rooms we shared. I carry her forward not by uncovering every secret, but by honoring the ones she chose to leave behind. Some nights I stand at the kitchen sink and look at my phone. I think about answering a call that will never come. I think about what I would say if it did. Maybe just, thank you. Maybe just, I understand. The screen stays dark. The house stays quiet. And that, I have learned, is enough.